Your first prototype is not going to be flattering. It might barely work, and it is definitely not going to be ready to sell, but that does not mean that it failed. The real purpose of your first prototype is not to prove that your idea is finished, but it's to answer the questions that determine whether the idea is worth continuing. This month, I'm building the first prototype of NEVAMic, my startup idea for a more comfortable wireless microphone system for live performance. The goal is to eventually replace some of the tape, wires, and bulky body packs performers currently have to wear. I'm not expecting prototype 1 to look anything like the final product, but instead, I've identified 5 questions that it needs to answer, and so does every entrepreneur's product. The first question is the most basic. Does the central idea behind the product actually work? For NEVAMic, that means testing whether a small wearable microphone could capture and wirelessly transmit understandable speech. It does not need to sound like a professional Broadway mic yet, but if the audio is completely unstable or constantly disconnects, that would reveal a major problem. Before improving an idea, you first need evidence that its foundation is possible. The second question is, what is the biggest technical risk? Every product has one part that could completely undermine the entire concept. For NEVAMic, that might be proving wireless reliability, or trying to fit all the components into one really small product. My prototype cannot fully solve all these problems, but it should help me identify which one is the most difficult. And a prototype is not only supposed to confirm what works, it should expose what doesn't work. The third question is about the user, because something could technically work but then still be a terrible product. There have been numerous products that large companies such as Google and Meta have launched that seem to be very technologically advanced but simply don't have a viable market. Your prototype needs to show whether the form that your product exists in actually improves the user experience. The fourth question is, what assumptions was I wrong about? Before building, everything exists perfectly in your head. The microphone is comfortable, the connection is reliable, and then you build it and reality starts disagreeing with you. And the last question is, what should I change in version 2? A useful prototype should lead to a clear next decision. Maybe I need a smaller battery, or maybe you need to change the placement of the components. The results should not simply be the prototype worked or the prototype didn't work. It should be a list of specific lessons that make the next version even better. So before I start building my prototype, these are the questions that I'm going to use to define success. Prototype 1 does not need to prove that your product is ready for market. It just needs to prove that you're learning the right things. In the next video, I'm going to show you the components I'm using for my prototype and how I plan to turn this idea into something that actually exists.